Hi everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video we are going to be having a live discussion about a little magic, and I am going to bring Miss S.Hicks on the line so we can chat with her today. Let's see if we can get her.
Hello?
Hello, my dear, how are you?
Hi, Jasmine. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you so much. This is great. I'm really happy to speak to you. We are recording, so I just wanted, I did kind of tell everyone that we're going to be doing a little chatting about magic, but I thought maybe you can give us a little bit of your background and who you are and all that good stuff.
Okay, well, first let me ask you, how do you pronounce your last name?
It's Atten.
Okay, thank you. My name is S.Hicks, and I'm based in Washington, D.C., where all this turmoil is going on. And I've been here most of my life. I've lived in Tampa, Florida, and also in parts of Maryland, but mainly I've been in my hometown most of my life.
Okay.
And I am a former fervent Christian. I mean, borderline fanatical Christian. And I was in that realm for many years. And when I came out, it was like being liberated from a cocoon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm grateful and delighted to have come into a broadened scope as far as my life's journey. And I'm very much interested in getting more fully into the metaphysical realm.
Okay, very good. Awesome. Well, I'm excited about our discussion today. So I guess I'll kind of just let you take the lead and we'll go from there.
Sure. Now, I wanted to ask you, where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California.
Okay. And what do you like most about your hometown?
Well, there's a lot of culture here. There's a lot of diversity. There is great weather, of course. I think everyone would agree. This is the only place where you can, go to the beach and snowboarding all in the same day. So that does have its perks and its plus. But there's just a variety of everyone here and a little bit of something to do for everybody. So, I've lived other places, and so far this is where I'm pretty happy. So I think this is where I'll be remaining from now on.
Where else have you lived, Jasmine?
I lived in South Florida for about a year, which was beautiful, but you know what they say, there's no place like home.
True.
Yeah.
What did you like most when you lived there in Florida?
Oh man. It was similar to Los Angeles, but not exactly the same. The beaches were beautiful, the weather was beautiful, the scenery itself was definitely worth being there. The pace was a lot slower, which was good, but it was also something I wasn't necessarily used to. So there were a lot of perks to being in Florida. I would consider it my second home, just maybe vacation, not really permanent.
Oh, okay. So what do you consider things to be on your bucket list?
On my bucket list. Oh, let's see. I've always wanted to get an opportunity to fly a plane. Even if it's just as a co-pilot, it's something that I've always thought about doing as a young child. So that's definitely one. Two would be getting to travel and just seeing, the world and visiting some different countries. There's so many wonders and treasures out there besides the U.S., so I do want an opportunity to get to see them.
So far, where have you traveled?
I've pretty much only been within the States. I've been to Mexico, but that was on a cruise, so that doesn't really, I don't really consider that really going outside the country. But here, I've been to New Orleans a couple of times, which is one of my favorite places. I did do a little sightseeing. When I moved to Florida, I did a cross country from here, drove straight through, so all the southern states. New Mexico is another place that I've been, Nevada, Arizona, been to Texas, let's see, and yeah, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, of course, and that's about it. So I do want the opportunity to visit. I would love to be able to visit all of the states here.
Okay, covering all 50, huh?
Yes.
Okay, now what type of child were you? Were you an introvert, extrovert, social butterfly? What
Oh man. Well, let's see. My mother used to say I was precocious. It's an interesting question. I was always a little different as a child. I think I knew I wasn't really the same as most kids. I was outgoing, but I also was very quiet and to myself. I was raised as an only child, so I think that had a lot to do with it as well. But I was pretty much a good kid, really fun loving. I enjoyed my childhood to say the least. But yeah, precocious is always the word that my family uses when they describe me as a little one.
What kind of student do you describe yourself as being? What favorite subjects did you have?
I really did like school. Art was one of my favorites. I loved theater and drama. I'm a Pisces, so I'm very artistic and creative. Creative writing was one of my favorite subjects. I did exceptionally well in that. Anything pertaining to science, I've had a green thumb since I was little. I can grow almost anything. So, biology, any of those types of areas have been my favorite. I've taken some psychology courses, just a handful in and out of junior college and stuff like that, which really does hold my interest. So as long as it has to do with art or studying the brain or anything pertaining to life and growth itself, that's really intriguing to me.
Oh, okay. Cool. And what about sports in school? Did you engage in any types of sports curriculums?
Outside of just the traditional physical education, not necessarily. I wasn't too heavily into sports. I mean, I played them. Volleyball would have been my first choice if I had one, but I wasn't really an athletic kid. So, I'm the type that I'd rather sit on the bench and watch everybody else play and maybe draw or write or do something like that.
Okay, spectating, fix your profile more.
Yeah.
Now, what about family members? Do you have any family members who are metaphysical or in that type of genre?
Yes, I do actually. So my mother, I was raised actually by a family of different, I don't really want to say practitioners because they all didn't practice magic, but they all were at different levels of spirituality. My mother was a practicing witch. She was a medium and a professional psychic back in the 70s and 80s. So I've learned everything from her, literally everything from dressing candles to she taught me how to work with tarot cards and a lot of things metaphysical. My father as well was into the healing arts. He actually taught telepathy, telekinesis, levitation. He was a Reiki master, 10th degree black belt in martial arts. I mean, he was very profound and very deep into his spirituality. So it was, kind of embedded in me from the get-go.
So are both your parents native Californians?
No, actually. So my father lived the majority of the time out of the country. He did a lot of studies in Nepal, India. He also lived on the East Coast. My parents separated when I was very young, so I was raised by my mother, and he was pretty much out of the country studying and working most of the time.
So where did he come from as far as his native area of where he was born and raised?
He was born and raised in Chicago. Maybe not raised completely. He was taken to India very young by some of his relatives that felt he had some special gifts and they wanted to help cultivate that. So he was always back and forth studying there.
Oh, okay. Have you ever been to India? Well, you did mention that you hadn't been out of the country.
No,
Okay.
I haven't, but the opportunity presents itself. I would definitely love to visit.
Yeah, that would be quite enlightening, I'm sure. Now, what about your career path? What career path, Jasmine, did you follow?
Well, I actually was in the medical field for about 12 years. My background is in women's health care, obstetrics and gynecology. I did both office management and I did the clinical aspects from prenatal counseling to assisting in surgical procedures. So I've always been in that health and service area as far as a career, and I loved medicine. I love medicine, I should say. I always wanted to further my studies to go on and be a registered nurse, but life kind of just took a different turn, and that didn't happen. But that's okay. Things play out the way they're supposed to. So
That's true. I agree with you on that. Were you ever a Christian or a Jehovah's Witness or a Muslim or a Hebrew Israelite or any of those other persuasions spiritually?
No, I wasn't, but that's a very interesting question. So my mother, she practiced hoodoo, she practiced candle magic. However, she was very knowledgeable and well versed. She studied a lot of different religions. She had a lot of friends from all types of religions, all types of backgrounds. And she did expose me to a lot growing up, with the sense of, I'm going to show you and you will make your decision when when the time comes. So I have been to, from Catholic churches to chanting in Japanese. I learned how to pray in Arabic at the mosque. I've been to the Kabbalah Center. So I've been exposed, but I never really felt at home. I would say there was a short period of my life, very, very short period of my life, where I thought, let me explore the idea of going to church, and that never set well with me. Not that I have anything against church, it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. And I think also because growing up with the mother that I had, and her social circle and family being very much into magic and witchcraft, that was home for me, and it made more sense than other religions, I would say.
So when did you actually know that you are a witch? When did you come to that? When you were a young child or later in your developmental stages?
The term witch was not necessarily used. My mother didn't really use that term, but I knew as a child I was different, and I had several experiences. I remember one in particular when I was about 7 years old was my first encounter with seeing a ghost. And I knew then, like, I knew, I had an idea what a ghost was. I did and I didn't, but I did, and I'm like, okay, this is not, I know other kids don't experience things like this. Growing up, my mother always wanted to help cultivate my gifts. I was a seer, ever since I was very, very young. And I would sit and watch her dress candles, and she would teach me how to use crystals and things like that. I never identified myself as a witch until probably adolescence, I would say, maybe a teenager, when I started practicing on my own. I started doing little spells and rituals for like my friends at school, things like that. And I realized, like, I think I'm a witch. But I again, didn't really hold on to the term until later, until I got older. And then in my 20s, it is what it is. So that label, it fits me, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. So you did spells for the school mates and so forth. That must have been interesting.
Well, it was really small, mediocre little things, as a teenager, and I'm talking like 15, 16, 17. It would be little stuff. My girlfriends would want, a boy to talk to them, or, can we burn a candle to try to pass this test? It was really small, little silly things that I was experimenting with, but they worked most of the time.
Okay.
And then my mother, she didn't necessarily do work for other people, but family members would ask me, like, so do you know how to do a candle for such and such? And I would tell them the best that I could, and they would get results. So
Ooh.
yeah.
That must have been a morale booster as far as you having confidence in your craft, getting those results that were successful, huh?
Yes and no. I didn't think that a spell wouldn't work. That never crossed my mind. I just knew that if you do this, you'll get the results that you want. And again, because being raised in it, it seemed normal to me. I didn't know that everybody doesn't do this for a while. And so it was just like, you got a problem, here's a candle, let's fix it, sort of thing. So
the flow came to you naturally. It was like innate.
Yes.
Okay. So your present, how would you describe your present signature style as far as your practice?
Oh, I consider myself eclectic. I have done studies and I kind of borrow a little bit from here, a little bit there, and have incorporated it in making it my own. When people ask me, I tell them I'm an eclectic, practicing witch. Hoodoo is my expertise, I would say, candle magic. I am, or I identify with Wicca mainly because I do follow a lot of the traditions and what it stands for does resonate with me. However, there are some aspects of Wicca that I don't really necessarily see eye to eye with, so to speak. So that's where I borrow what I feel fits right from that and sort of just have created my own area of my magic and my practice.
Right, okay. Your own unique way of doing things, which is something that we all should remember to have our own unique signature style methods and so forth.
Right.
But at the same time, gaining guidance from other resources, but being certain to maintain our own authentic mannerisms and so forth.
Absolutely.
Now, as we know, there are many, many people of different persuasions who have unawareness and misunderstandings about what witchcraft actually is, what metaphysics is, sacred geometry and symbolism. So if you had to define witchcraft to people who may have an interest, they may not vocally or they may not openly indicate it, but if you had to, in a nutshell, let people know who are so misguided about it, how would you go about explaining to them to help them get rid of their misconceptions about the metaphysical realms?
Well, I would first explain to them that we live in a energy-based world. I think that's something that's common knowledge that we all know. And witchcraft and magic is just you learning how to harness and work with that energy to create a change. Regardless of any type of religious background, they all practice rituals. Catholics burn candles, they say prayers. That's no different than lighting a candle and performing a ritual and sending out a petition asking for something. So, if you think about Hindu and Buddhist, they all are performing a ritual. So that's really, really what it is. The difference is, I think, that there isn't one specific deity or pantheon when you practice witchcraft that you're locked into. There isn't necessarily, depending if you're in a religion that practices witchcraft, that's different. But if you're just practicing the craft, there isn't this steadfast heart set of rules that you're supposed to follow, or you're not going to be reprimanded for not living your life a certain way. But it's basically just utilizing the natural elemental forces on the earth, the air, the water, the earth, the sun, the moon, things that were created essentially by, that God energy that everyone in religion wants to refer to. And you're just tapping into that power to create a change, to manifest or to remove or to fix something. So it's not any different than a person that goes to church and says a prayer. It's just a request out to the universe, really.
So witchcraft in itself is not a religion, but there are some metaphysical religions that exist, but witchcraft in itself is not per se a religion, correct?
Correct. Witchcraft is a practice, and it's a practice that anyone can do. You can follow a specific religion and still practice witchcraft by using and utilizing these tools. I think the difference with witchcraft and magic, however, is you tend to work with spirits, deities. You call upon certain elements, which in magic you don't always necessarily work with spirits, you just work with tools. So witchcraft is just simply a practice to fulfill something that you need or want.
Okay. That's a great explanation. Now, moving to the sentiments, what are your sentiments, Jasmine, about the Bible and the other so-called sacred books?
They're all, to me, book of shadows. The Bible is a spell book. The Bible, especially the book of Psalms, but the Bible has a lot of information, especially about early before Christianity and all that. Everyone was pagan, I would say. The stories and the rituals, the things that were used, the tools that were used, they talk about herbs, they talk about incense, crystals, yeah, absolutely. All the things that come from the earth. So essentially, it's a spell book if you know what you're looking for and how to use it. All the other holy books are just the same. They're just written differently.
Right. And they have similar slants to them also.
Yes.
Now, what about your concept of God? Because, you know, the Muslims, they talk Allah, and then you have Christians that talk about the God of the Bible. What's your concept of God or the creator, so to speak?
The creator is one divine source of energy. It's just referred to by different names, by different cultures, but essentially they're all referring to the same energy. It's a universal force. It's all around us. God is in everything, especially every living flower, tree, bird, plant, ant, people, all of it. God is always around us. Regardless of what they call it, it's all the same energy.
Okay, great answer. And I agree, yes. Now, I had a discussion recently with a few folks in one of the Facebook groups about this free will thing, and of course there were different viewpoints about it, but what's your take on, or your sentiments, what are your sentiments about the free will? Because we were talking yesterday, Ashura, Star Goddess, and I, about the head work, and she explained it in a way that was exceptional to me, for me to get a better grip or comprehension about it. But my question sort of like was, if people have free will, how can we do head work using the skull head candles or whatever method you use to do head work? How can we say they have free will and at the same time be able to alter their free will by head work? What are your takes on that?
Well, like I explained to my clients, again, with magic, witchcraft, you know, you are manipulating energy and you're sending energy to create a change around a person's thoughts, feelings, or a situation. And that's really all you're doing. You're directing the energy to help maybe persuade them, but people are still very much in control. They still have their own free will. The one misconception people believe is, oh, if you put a spell on someone, then you're manipulating them and you're controlling them, and they're going to, you know, be like this zombie that has no control of making decisions and just do whatever, you know, that spell wants them to do. And it absolutely does not work like that at all. You're simply sending energy, and energy can influence someone's thoughts or feelings. It's almost like making a suggestion. However, ultimately, it is up to the person to act on those things. Also, if something is meant to be and you're using the energy to maybe, let's say, clear up an obstacle or something that's blocking it, or speeding up the process, if it's meant to be, then it will be. If it's not meant to be at all, then it's not going to manifest anyway.
Okay. And that's a very interesting point that you brought up, in that I have used the terminology, and correct me if I'm off record, I mean, out of order in my belief in this regard, but I do believe that the universal rhythm governs, and it sometimes overrules our desires. Like, if I want to manifest, say for instance, my girlfriend is dating some guy and he's just really not the best guy for her, but she is attached to him and she's embracing them staying together. However, she's done a spell or a ritual or whatever more than once perhaps, and he didn't come back to her, or didn't pan out to be successful as far as the intimacy and the union of it. And then so she's disappointed because the spell didn't work, etc., as many times as she's done it. But then later on down the road, as time has passed and due process arrives, the universal rhythm sends her someone that is better. So she didn't get her manifestation as she desired, but she got something better. And I call that universal rhythm governing and overruling. What do you say about something like that?
I agree. I explain to people that in very similar situations, I get that a lot, and I explain to people sometimes you can do a spell on, and we'll use that example, on getting your partner back, or, you know, getting a guy to want to date you, or whatever the circumstances are. If later down the line something is going to transpire that is going to end up causing more trouble, more pain, more turmoil. It's going to be worse in the end. This person just really, really, really isn't for you, and you're going to end up crushed and devastated. I feel that the universe, your angels, your protectors, your spirit guides are not going to let that manifest anyway. There are times where, yeah, spells work for a short period of time and then things go back to the way they were. And why is that? Well, number one, we're sensitive. We're all sensitive to frequencies. So the person that you do the spell on is being affected. They may pick up on that frequency, and yes, it may persuade them to come back, reconcile, call you, show you a little more attention or whatnot. But again, if it's not meant to be, it's not going to last very long at all. Also, you know, every individual has their own set of spirit guides and protectors. And sometimes people's intentions of doing a spell on a person truly deep down is not really coming from a sincere place of love. So you may get a little temporary excitement and a little bit of a result, but if the person initiating the spell is coming from not a good place, the results aren't going to last either. The other thing also, especially in, I get a lot of clients to reconcile their relationships, is a spell is not the end all fix all. You know, it's to help. It's almost like a band-aid, but essentially if the root cause of whatever the issue is not addressed, so if the root cause of the breakup is never addressed, then the spell isn't going to last very long. If you're a single person and you know you have trouble keeping a man or meeting a man, but you don't, maybe you don't take very good care of yourself, or you're emotionally unstable or unbalanced, or you have these issues that another person can't deal with, then you can burn 100 candles and go to 100 witches. At the end of the day, the root cause needs to be addressed, or the spell, it's not going to work anyway.
Excellent point, excellent point. And I tell people sometimes the best spells we can do is on self-transformation.
Right, yes.
Because that can solve, and it's not best in the bud if we do more spells on ourselves.
That's now, true.
What's your advice, Jasmine, or for some of these metaphysical folks, and you've seen them as well as I have in some of these Facebook groups? They are quick on the trigger to want to indulge in practices to hot-foot folks and to curse folks and then spells on folks. And oftentimes they're too quick to want to go that route as opposed to something less drastic. What do you advise for those type of folks?
Yeah, that's a great point, and I deal with this a lot also. Well, number one, yes, people are too quick. They get so angry and so aggressive, and being human, being emotional, you know, anger and revenge is the first thing people jump to. But you have to take a step back and examine the situation. Why is this happening? So before you go to do a revenge spell on someone that maybe crossed you, a lot of people fail to look at themselves. What did you do to cause this? Do you have karma? Is this karmatic, whether it's from this life or the past life? Maybe you can try a different approach. Everyone nowadays is so angry. You know, we live in a world where 99% of individuals are unhappy. That's like everybody. And the frequency around us out in the world just on a daily basis is negative. Everybody just seems to be tense and on edge. So of course they automatically jump to, I'm gonna burn a black candle, or let me hotfoot them, or get this person fired. But sometimes it's easier to sweeten the situation so it can work in your favor than constantly trying to send that energy out. Baneful magic is what it's called. And regardless of if you do, and I don't believe in white magic or black magic, but for the sake of some people that need that analogy, if you do good magic, bad magic, black, white, whatever, it's all energy, and it does come back in one form or the other. So sometimes people just don't realize that, you know, this is your karma, and karma doesn't always come back around in the way that it was sent out. So you're doing something on your coworker that you don't like, or you want to get them fired, but you forgot about, you know, 6 years ago at your old job when you stole somebody's lunch, or the person you flick off in traffic coming to work every day. So that's why these things are happening, and maybe trying a different approach, you might benefit better. In fact, I know a couple of people that every job they go to, there's always an issue with the supervisor or coworker, and they're constantly trying to do work. And it's like, maybe you need to stop doing the baneful magic and approach the situation from a different, a different avenue, and then you would have better success in your own endeavors in your work environment.
That is a striking point, and I can recall someone in one of the Facebook groups indicated something was going on in her job, and from her tone, I got the impression that a lot of the problem probably was due to her, and some people want to do spells on, on my supervisor, and I'm like, okay, before you go that route, now are you one of those employees that's constantly slacking off, showing up late, you're not performing your duties as you have been hired to do, and then you want to blame the supervisor for wanting to get rid of you and write you up? Are you being written up because you're doing something or slacking off, or that it's warranted? That's one of my main questions.
Right, right. And another thing also, we pick up energy from everywhere, every single day when we're out in the world. If you stand next to a person that's had a bad day or just had a fight, you're absorbing that energy. And another thing people don't realize is oftentimes when you are in a situation where you're not getting along with that person, chances are it really has nothing to do with you or them. The two of you are reacting to the energy that one another are carrying, which is why I'm very big at suggesting ritual baths, cleansings. It starts with self. If you get rid of some of that stuff off of you, then when you encounter people, they may respond to you a little differently. We've all walked into a room or met someone that we felt a little off. And it's like, but why? I don't even know this person. They've done nothing wrong to me, but I don't like them. It's not them. It's the energy that they're carrying. And when you have certain things on you, it will cause conflict. It will cause people to not be nice to you. It will cause your supervisor to breathe down your throat. And you're like, well, what did I do? Let me get them back. And it's like, no. You don't have to get them back. Fix what's going on with yourself first. And then figure out, is it really them or is it you?
Yeah, that's great. Self-evaluation and assessment. Now, when it comes to doing baneful magic, me, I'm kind of resistant to it. The first time I did a baneful magic, my spirit guide pretty much had to grab me and almost swallow me to get me to do it. I'm like, no. But then when I was resisting, I felt a wave of displeasure come over me. And when I went ahead and did the baneful magic, then I felt the cloud lift. So when do you think are appropriate or times in order with universal movements to do baneful magic? What kind of circumstances do you think would warrant such?
Well, let's first think about, there's different types of baneful magic. Now, if you're being unjustly, let's just say you moved into a new place, you don't even know the neighbors and you're being attacked, or, there's various things happening and you literally haven't done anything to them. Again, you need to assess, is this karmatic? What's going on? Do your cleansing. And then you need to move forward into handling it. My motto is do no harm, but take no shit. Right. Don't come for me. If you're attacking me for literally no reason, especially sometimes people get very dirty and very ugly and they say mean things and they make up lies, or they, they'll intentionally try to break up a household or something like that. There's nothing wrong with protecting yourself. There's nothing wrong with getting someone to leave you alone, to stop being harassed, sort of thing. So it's a very thin line. You really have to evaluate if baneful magic is necessary and if it's really deserved. And if it is, then I say go for it. There's nothing wrong with baneful magic. I think it's something that everybody should definitely know. You should know how to protect yourself. Again, people that we encounter also, there are negative spirits in this world, and just because they're in a human package does not mean that they're of love and light. It doesn't even mean that they are of a human spirit, a human soul. You're dealing with souls from different dimensions. You're dealing with souls that are from other galaxies, that are from other star systems, that are from negative frequencies. There's so many different dimensions to this physical one, and you just might be encountering an evil force that is coming after you. especially for those of us that are sensitive, that are empaths, that do spiritual work, that our third eye is open, we're open spiritually. There are negative spirits that walk this earth with the intentions of not allowing your soul to evolve, which is, this place is a matrix, it's artificial anyway. And if you're not able to evolve spiritually, then you have to keep coming back here. So they will attack you. That's why it's important to be educated, to delve into your spirituality, to learn about these things so you can identify this person that's coming for me. Is this truly something I deserve? Is this just an evil spirit? Is this somebody trying to hold me back from ascending, and handle it that way?
Right. And what you would warn against is just emotionally popping off without using wisdom in the processes.
Right. And that's the one thing, the number one rule that I always tell people is you have to be able to control your emotions. And it's difficult, even for me, it's difficult, but we are emotional beings and we do tend to react from our emotions. And that's not good. It can actually end up getting you in more trouble in the long run. So that's why I always, when people come to me, I'll tell them, go sit down for a couple of days and really, really kind of, let this pass for a few days and see if you still feel the same, because making an emotional decision and casting a spell, magic is not a toy. You could really end up hurting someone because you were angry and then later on regretting it.
And we have to consider the ramifications and the repercussions. That's true.
Right.
Now, what is your best advice for folks who are new to the metaphysical dimensions?
My best advice, study. You can't take everything that you see or, YouTube or see posted. You really have to determine for yourself. So if self-teaching is difficult, find a very good teacher. Start off with the very basics, but learn every avenue of metaphysics and go with what feels right to you. But magic, metaphysics, witchcraft, if it's going to be a lifestyle, then it's a lifelong journey. So don't rush it. Take it one step at a time. And if you don't understand something, keep doing your homework, keep doing your research, see if you can find someone that can help you, but never give up. Developing your spirituality is so rewarding and so fulfilling in the long run, but it does take time. So you've really got to be diligent and be focused and be committed.
I agree with everything you said, and also I tell people enough times that it's important to pace ourselves, because some folks, when they first get out of one spiritual posture and discover about another one, they want to pile on and try to get too much done, and they overwhelm themselves. And I tell people it's important to accomplish a balance in whatever you're doing. Make sure you have some fun and laughter and comedy, the comedic relief, and don't just get hung up on doing magical exercises to the point where you become extreme or unbalanced. So it's key to pace ourselves.
Yes, and it's also important to really learn about what you're doing. A lot of people will practice magic or do a spell. Most people do spells because they are trying to fix something or need something, but people are kind of jumping to, step 3 and 4, and they still don't know what step 1 is. So they're burning candles, but you don't know what the color correspondence are. You don't know that you're working with the fire element. So there's some very basic things that I think a person needs to have a very clear understanding of, and what they're doing. Yeah, you need to learn the fundamentals before you just run out and buy all these tools, set up an altar, and I'm gonna cast a spell, but you really just, you haven't learned these things, and that's something that you need to know beforehand. I mean, you wouldn't walk into an OR with a scalpel and cut someone open without going to medical school. Why would you cast a spell if you don't even know? How do you know what the candle you're using is appropriate, or the color, or the day of the week? You don't even know what the element itself is for. You essentially don't really know what you're doing. And that also plays into why spells fail, why people say they backfire, and why, it's like, well, I didn't get the results I wanted because you didn't do your homework before you did this. And it's important to know these things before you get started.
Right, yes, and the mechanics of the foundational, fundamental things, because a lot of people do want to skip the fundamentals and the foundational aspects. And if a house is built on a flimsy foundation, you're have a flimsy journey.
Right. Absolutely. You know, it's funny, so many people that are practicing, and I see this, you know, a lot in Facebook's group, in my Facebook group, they're practicing spells, but they don't even know the definition of witchcraft, or they don't know that there's a difference in magic and witchcraft. Well, it's like, okay, if you don't know that, put those candles down. You got some learning to do.
Right. Great point. Now, Jasmine, how did your cat Luna respond to the metaphysical realm?
Wow, Luna is definitely my familiar. She is telepathic, and she has communicated with people around me. She sits at my altar sometimes, or sits next to me, and I feel like she's trying to lend her own magical energy. Cats are very psychic, very sensitive. They can sense things that we can't, and they are also very magical. So when I'm getting ready to do a ritual, she's like, okay, let's do it. I'm right here next to you. What can I do? I oftentimes will find her sitting, staring at a candle, and my friends, we joke and we'll say, oh, she's trying to manifest a can of wet food or something like that. But she does definitely feel the energy. She lays next to my crystals a lot of the time. So I know she's sensitive in her own way.
I would love to watch, observe how Luna behaves, because they're so intriguing. They're so strikingly interesting as far as how they project. And to me, they're just majestic creatures. They just, and the way they walk like they own wherever they step.
It's true. They're also, cats are also very protective. A lot of times they're sent to you as your protector or to give you lessons. I remember one time, actually recently, a few weeks ago, I was having a quite disturbing dream experience sort of thing. And it was almost like an astral projection, but it wasn't. And I literally said to myself in my head, even though I was asleep but awake, Luna, come wake me up. Like, I knew if she were to just wake me up, I could come out of it. And I said, Luna, come wake me up. And next thing I knew, she was crawling up on me and meowing, and she woke me up. And I looked at her and I was like, you actually heard my thoughts. You heard me call you. And so if people were to just sit down with their cats and try to channel that energy, they'd be surprised that they'll be able to communicate with them.
I love that. So when you said Luna, wake me, you were saying that in your dream thought process.
Right. No, I needed something to jolt me out of that deep sleep, and she came right in and woke me up.
Wow, that is deep. Okay, now what about mojo bags? What is the significance or the power that is contained in having mojo bags? And say some things about just what do they mean metaphysically, from your experience?
Well, a mojo bag is like your little bag of good luck. It's a talisman. It's a way of carrying your mojo with you, whether it's for good luck, maybe it's for protection, maybe it's for drawing love. And what it is just that it's a bag or a sack or a fabric that is filled with things that are aligned with your desires. So that could be roots, herbs, crystals, sigils, talismans, personal concerns, written petitions, angels. It can really be anything that you want to go in there that coincide with whatever it is that you're trying to manifest or repel. I have a couple of mojo bags myself. I have one for just general good luck and prosperity. And I have one for protection that has a combination of salt, variation of herbs, a couple of stones in there. And I keep them with me all the time. They're either in my purse or in my bra, but they're always on me.
You find them to be effective as far as your experiences. They've had impact, no doubt.
I do find them to be effective, but they are a tool that you have to work with. I know a lot of traditions, a lot of cultures believe that mojo bags take on a spirit of their own, and you have to develop a relationship with them. I do believe that to a certain extent. A mojo bag, again, is just it's a physical ball of energy. So you do have to care for it. You do have to spend time with it. You do have to let it get to know you. It is important to charge it. My mojo bags specifically, I anoint them with oil. There are many different ways that you can work with them, but they're not something that you just make and then you throw it on the dresser. It's not going to work that way.
I agree.
it's an
Yes, you're
extension
right.
of yourself. It's an extension. It is another magical harness of energy that you're carrying with you. So you want to treat it with respect. You know, you treat your
Yes.
debit card with respect. You want to do the same thing with your mojo bag. It's important. And I do feel, in my opinion, I feel like my mojo bag, I have one in my car for protection, has literally saved me and protected me from things, you know, I've near misses in car accidents and things like that, that I always feel like if I didn't have that mojo bag, something may have transpired that wouldn't have been as pleasant. So in my opinion,
Right.
they do work, and they are important and an essential part of practicing your magic.
I absolutely agree, because mine to me are like, from all of my tools, I put them in a place like they're my family. And I feed my mojo bags, and like I said, I do the oil, I give them oil, and I call them, I give what I call smoke baths. I'll take incense smoke and I'll hold them over the incense smoke and let them, immersed in the incense smoke. So yes, they have to be respected and loved and honored and treated to me like family. That's how I feel about my tools, period,
Yes, yes, they'll work for you. If you take care of them, they will definitely work for you.
Yes, and I'm a witness, as they say in the churches. I'm a testimony. But I was in a metaphysical store a couple of years ago, and that's when I think I first really started getting full throttle into metaphysics. And I had read somewhere, I saw on YouTube, to put crystals in your pocket. So I went there, I had a crystal in my pocket, and I was talking to the sales lady. I said, well, I have a crystal in my pocket. And she reached inside of her bosom and pulled out a lapis lazuli. She said, well, I would prefer to have mine close to my skin. I was like, oh, I love that idea. So when I left the store, I told her I loved that idea. And when I left the store, I took the crystal out of my pocket and put it in my bra. I've been wearing crystals in my bra ever since. Do you wear them in your bra as well?
I most certainly do. Absolutely.
And you feel them. You know they're there, because when you put them in, you feel the power, and when you remove them, you feel the power from the removal. So yes, they are at work in the bosom
Yeah.
department.
Yeah, they are. You can definitely feel the energy. I rotate my crystals from time to time. There are a few that are my regular kind of go-tos that I work with, but I feel the difference. If I run out the door and forget to grab my stones, which is seldom, but it does happen, I totally can feel the difference when I'm out in the world versus when I have them on me. So that's just, again, like a mojo bag, it's an essential to keep you balanced, keep you protected, and also keep you from leaking energy.
Yes, good point. And that was my next question. What are your favorite go-to crystals?
Oh my goodness. So my absolute favorite is amethyst. I love them. I have amethyst all throughout my bedroom and throughout the house. I wear it quite often. Clear quartz, of course, I feel is sort of that all-purpose stone. I like labradorite for psychic protection. Big fan of that. And shungite is another good one, just for the EMF frequencies to kind of, deter all of this radiation that we're being zapped with on a daily basis. And moldavite is another one that I really do like to work with. It's a little strong, but I do like it for if I'm doing astral projection or maybe trying to communicate with spirits from the other side. That's what I'll work with.
Right. Have you tried tektite?
I haven't, and that's funny you should say that, because I was just at a crystal store the other day, and the woman there, she said, I feel like you need this, and I look at it all the time. I've never bought it, and now that you say that, I think I'm going to have to go back and get a piece.
Please do. It makes a difference. You will find. And so let me know when you get it, what you discover from having it. I highly recommend it. In my Facebook group, one of the members in there, she went and got one. She said she went to a metaphysical store, and the people were surprised, or the salesperson or whoever was surprised that she had requested a tektite, and she said they kept it in the back. And we were trying to figure out why were they surprised, or that particular person, and why it wasn't in the back. So she said when she got it, it helped her. She said a lot. And she's had hers about a month. So I would highly recommend that you get it, and let me know what you feel as a result of having obtained it.
Absolutely. That will be on my list of things to do this weekend for sure. Thank you, as I have thought about it, and I see it all the time, and I know it's been calling me, but I think I'm kind of like, oh, I don't need any more crystals, but what's one more?
Yeah, and a sure start goddess did a video, and she mentioned using it as well in some of her, I think, spell work, but I'm not sure I'm saying that accurately, so don't quote me on it. But I know she mentioned it, but I'm not sure what she mentioned it as far as her usage of it. Okay, so now, what would you recommend as a metaphysical starter kit for those that are starting out, and they will have a whole boatload of money to spend? What would be a great starter kit?
Get yourself one good stone. Clear quartz is good. Like I said, it's all purpose. It's relatively inexpensive. A good stone. Get yourself a good incense to help you if you're going to meditate or just for energy clearing and balance. And a good book. There's an abundance of information out there. If you can get a good book or download some resources. And just maybe a mini, I don't want to say altar setup, but yeah, a little altar setup. Get the essentials. So a candle of some sort, a little incense, a stone, and some knowledge to start practicing. Even if you just start it with holding your crystal and maybe a little meditation, a couple minutes a day. But just start small. But that's what I would recommend.
Okay, cool. Now, I brought this up when I talked to Ashira about there's some people who are diehards about using only beeswax candles because they consider the other candles, which could very well be true, they're considered to be toxic. So what are your sentiments about only using beeswax candles?
Well, I use beeswax in my practice for special things or certain things. I don't use them all the time. I do feel because they are of a more natural substance, and the way beeswax is cultivated, and it is, rare to come by. It's not like we can just go outside and pick some beeswax. They do, in my opinion, I feel deliver results a little bit faster. I'm not steadfast on using only beeswax because even if you use other candles, there's other aspects than just the wax itself. There's the color element that goes into it. There is, what are you dressing the candle with? Does it have symbols or sigils depending on the type of candle that you're using? Figures also, if a candle is shaped a certain way, that has energy in itself. So I don't feel like you only need to use beeswax, but if there is a big ritual, something really, really, really important, or something you're like, I need results immediately, then I would opt for doing a beeswax candle.
Now, what about the statement that some folks say that the other ones are toxic? Now, I'm not sure if that's proven scientifically, but that they have said that the other ones are toxic if they're not beeswax.
Well, our oxygen is toxic, so what's the difference?
Okay. Now, you call about a month ago, I dropped in your inbox the pilot episode of that program, that reality program, Spirits of a Lantern. Mm-hmm. What are your feelings about the Spirits of a Lantern, that pilot episode that we watched?
Number one, I think something like that is overdue. Magic and witchcraft and all of that has been happening and going on, and is becoming more mainstream. So I'm glad that some production company finally decided to put out a show like that. Because it's a reality show, I get certain aspects about it were a little commercialized, I think. But the information that they're trying to share and their awareness, I do like, and I feel like that there needs to be more programs geared around that, because people think it's so taboo, and it's like, it really isn't. You don't know what your next door neighbor is doing, so you might want to, watch these shows and become a little more educated on it.
Right. That's a good point. And I wasn't on board with the entirety of the programming, but I am, like you said, on board with the fact that the exposure is there, and that could open up more doors for more such programs, because right now we have the New York with the Long Island medium. She comes on. Mm-hmm. I don't watch it, but I've heard about her. And then just the young guy, I can't think of his name, the Hollywood medium. Mm-hmm. And not being racist in my tone, but they're Caucasian people. And if my understanding is correct, the metaphysical practices started in the people of color as far as their communities. So I would like to see more people of color representing that aspect of lifestyle, because I think it originated with us.
I do agree. I absolutely do agree. And if I can just take that a step further, people of all ethnicities do practice some form of magic, so it would be nice for that to be exposed a little bit more. But yeah, I do think it is important for those, if I can say Black people, African Americans, to show that they are spiritual, and there is an area of magic and metaphysics and things that we are very deep into. So yeah, I agree with you.
And then the next thing I want to get a little bit into is the bullying. I've seen in a couple of metaphysical groups where some metaphysical parents are deeply concerned about their children being bullied, not because of metaphysics, but just because that's what's going on in schools today. Bullying is on the increase. So how do you recommend that metaphysical people, or people period, or a combination of both, handle the bullying that's going on in these schools these days?
Yeah.
It's always going on, but it seems to be on the increase. Or maybe because we have all this online presence, maybe it's just more exposed.
Right. Yeah, that is, I see that a lot too. And number one, you have to protect your children, and it's important to teach them very early on. When I was a child in grade school, my mother used to anoint my head with a little, drop of oil. I had a crystal in my backpack, Florida water, and also you do have to understand that these other children that are doing the bullying are most likely coming from households that are not spiritual. They're living in environments that are very negative, and they're also carrying energy that's causing them to act this way. So what you have to do is really protect your children, and that means put them in a ritual bath. Salt water doesn't hurt them. Give them a crystal. Teach them about it. Anoint them with Florida water or herbs or things of that nature. Teach them some form of meditation, or how to envision a circle of white light around them. Now, the bullying itself, there are ways to address that. You can do a freezer spell or something. It's harmless. But I think the most...
I didn't hear what you said. Say that again, please.
I said, you can address that by maybe doing a freezer spell on whoever the bully is or something of that nature. But I think if your child is protected, and if you sit down at your altar and you're working with your ancestors and deities for spiritual protection, they need to have something over them too, so that these things don't keep happening. Until it would be wonderful to have a school system for empaths and special children to go, but until then, you've got to protect them. And I'm not a parent, so I've never experienced that myself, but it is, you got to be present as far as parenting is concerned. And these other children, you can't do anything about their environment, but you can put a shield around your kids and cleanse them and keep energy away from them that is causing this stuff to happen.
Okay, great advice indeed, and it's so needed, because like I said, people are so prone to emotionally pop off now as opposed to reasoning, and they're so quick, tempered these days, more so than I've ever experienced. So, these little things can set people off these days, it seems.
It's true. It is very true. But protection, I find sometimes people forget. They do all their own protection, and they forget to protect their kids. And it's like your kid needs the same thing.
And also their pets as well.
That is very true. And they carry energy. They pick up, you go out and walk your dog picks up energy. Put some loving light of protection around your dog, or something to that effect.
Yes, indeed. Now, do you wear any sort of ceremonial clothing when you do rituals and spells, or like some folks wear capes or certain outfits or something?
It all depends. I do cover my head for certain things. So if I'm going into a cemetery, I do tend to wrap my hair most of the time when I am casting spells. A cape, not necessarily. I have one, but the only time I ever really use it is doing Samhain. Halloween, I will do a big ritual, and I will use my cape. Sometimes I will work in a specific color. If I'm doing some magic that I absolutely don't want to be detected by anyone else, I will do all black. If I'm doing some healing work or working with my ancestors, then I will do white. Or again, it all depends. Some things, if I'm doing love work or something like that, I may wear something that kind of represents that energy.
Okay, and speaking of cakes, those photographs that you posted in the group and on your page when you were out somewhere and it looks like a park type area and you had that cape on, and I mean those pictures were on and popping.
Thank you. Yeah.
Who took the photograph?
Believe it or not, my best friend did those. And the funny thing is, she has this professional camera, and for whatever reason, the photos were not coming out right on the camera. So we literally did the entire photo shoot on her cell phone.
Really?
Yeah.
They were adorable. I mean, they were speaking. I almost feel them talking. Those photographs were talking in this volume and talking loud and saying something.
Thank you.
So
And
I'm glad you did those. And did you put them anywhere in frames in your home or anything like that?
I have not. I am thinking about doing that. As of right now, they're just on my computer. But the interesting thing is that location where we did the photo shoot is where I used to do rituals. I've buried a lot of work there. So I really felt at home when we did them. So, but thank you very much.
So you were in your element out there, huh?
I was, yes.
Okay, what do you think, Jasmine, about reincarnation? Because people have different viewpoints about that. I'm kind of like, I'm not sure. I just don't know. What do you think about it?
I believe reincarnation is real. I believe that, it's kind of difficult to imagine that this is your first time on this earth. Like, we've all been here before. Maybe not all of us. There are some souls that are very new. But I do believe in reincarnation. I know I've been here before. Sometimes people come in with memories or likes or dislikes that they don't know where they've come from or they weren't really taught. And that's sort of your past life coming through. So I, for one, do believe in reincarnation.
Okay. I'm still on the fence about it, but I'm more prone to lean towards yes, but I just don't have a sufficient understanding. But I'm more inclined to say it does exist, even with my limited understanding or comprehension. Now, we've seen some of these Facebook discussions about the pro people who believe that we need to be initiated and the people who are not on board with it. What's your posture on the initiations that people tout, some of them so heavily, and the other ones like, no, we don't need it?
I think it does vary by tradition, and I sort of have mixed feelings about that. Number one, the reason why I feel like a person doesn't necessarily need to be initiated is because if an area of magic or a specific deity or spirit speaks out to you, that is, they're initiating you because they want to work with you or they're calling you to work with them. I know that in some religions that practice witchcraft, there are secrets and recipes and things that they only share within those that are initiated to keep the integrity. And if that's what you want, that's okay. But I don't feel that anyone needs to be or has to be initiated into any area of magic to be powerful, to manifest, to practice, to work with any spirit or deity. Some people feel you have to be initiated to work with a certain deity. I don't think that. I think if you put out a request and they respond to you, then they'll work with you because they want to. Being initiated doesn't make a difference. And if you do enough research and homework, these secrets that are within these religions, you can figure out those on your own also.
And also, I believe in creating something that hasn't already existed. Like, I like to do the balance of using some of the age-old techniques, and then I like to depend on my meditation and guidance and my intuition to create something that I've never seen anywhere else before. That's part of the signature style journey and being unique, not copying what you've seen or heard, but developing and creating and building upon your own as you're guided when you meditate and so forth.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And if you think about it, back in the day, the first people that started with these areas of magic or religion, who initiated them?
Good point.
So what gives them the right to say, well, we have to initiate you? It's almost like being a part of a clique, a part of a clan. That's, again, like being controlled. And that's not what magic or spirituality is about. So,
And some of them are pimping and doing it for the Benjamins too, let's keep it real, you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. And just some of the rules that are set in place. Now, for some people that feel that they need to be in some sort of structure or guidance or feel like they're more powerful, more magical because they know something that's not being shared with everyone, hey, kudos to you, more power to you. But do I think it makes you more powerful or more capable of working your magic versus a person that isn't initiated? Not at all.
Right, and what it boils down to, when you get to the bare bones of it, it comes to the place of people do what works for them. If that works for you, like you said, more power to you. And what doesn't work for you, then don't work it. And, you just have to, again, establish and discover what your own unique journey is, your lane, your path, and follow that, and don't let anyone aim. Well, some people will aim to maybe get you to veer off your path, but once you know what your path is and you are clear in what you know, then you should not allow anyone to cause you to veer from what you know that is yours. You
Absolutely.
know, your authentic self.
Yes, I agree completely, 1000%.
Now, what about deities? Now, I don't personally work with deities like the Legba and Oshun and all that, and I respect those that do. More power to them, like you said. However, I work with Archangel Michael and Gabriel and a few other spirit guides. I created my own, like Beyonce created Sasha Fierce. I created my own, and so forth and so on. But what are your feelings about the deities, the various deities?
I think the deities are, in my opinion, somewhat your link between energy and the spirit world. When you work with certain deities, they aid you in your magic. They can get your messages sent, or they have their own powerful energy to increase the likeliness of manifesting, or your ritual working, or your spell coming true, or whatnot. The thing about working with deities that people need to be very cognizant of is you can't just call upon anybody. Number one, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll work with you. Number two, there are some spirits that you can go to just for a request, like I just need this one thing granted, and that's fine. But there's others that when you start with them, you have to maintain and continue a relationship with them. And if you don't, then they will end up taking away what they've given you. And that's something people don't do a lot of research on. Working and having a relationship with deities is a lot of responsibility. It's like adopting a pet. You wouldn't bring a pet home and you play with it and feed it the first night, and after it does the tricks, you just, okay, fine. So it is a responsibility. Now, they do work for you, but you also need to know, are you putting yourself in spiritual debt by working with them? What are their requirements? Are they appropriate for helping you? Some people I hear have all these different deities in their house, and I'm like, well, how do you even know that these energetic spirits are good to get along and share the same space? So I think if you're going to work with deities, you need to do your homework first, do your research. Don't just pick one because, Oshun is the goddess of love and I want to do a love spell, so I'm gonna work with her. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Don't channel an energy, because you're inviting something into your home, into your life, and you get what you want, and you might end up again having everything taken away from you if you don't know how to treat them. So it's a personal choice. It is something that you really need to think about and consider. You don't have to work with deities in order to practice magic.
Exactly. Not to choose not to. But one day I went to a store and I bought a candle, and when I brought it home, I don't know, I wasn't paying much attention, and it said the seven African powers or something was on the candle. I forgot, it was different colors, it was a blend of colors. And when I got it home, I said to myself, well, you know what? I do not work with these deities, so do I need to keep this candle? I didn't feel right keeping the candle because it said seven African powers, and I said, I don't work with them, so I gave the candle away. Maybe I was overreacting, but I was like, I don't want to be disrespectful and burn this candle when I'm not talking to the deities that's written on this candle, so I just gave the damn candle away.
No,
Did that sound extreme to you?
No, I think you were right to follow your instinct and follow your intuition. If something doesn't feel right, if you're uncomfortable with it, then that's the energy that you're putting into that work.
Okay.
And yeah, so I think you were absolutely right for what you did. I wouldn't burn something or work with something that didn't resonate or sit well with me.
Right. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you let me feel more comfortable about that, because sometimes I tend to get, when I get into something, I don't like half step. I like to go full throttle. That's why when I was Christian, I was like borderline fanatical then, and so now in the metaphysical world, I'm the same way. So I don't want to get to the point where I become a fanatic, but I highly esteem things, and I don't take this stuff lightly. I mean, I'm in this. I mean, for the long haul, and full speed ahead. You know what I mean? But I don't want to be, a nutcase either.
Right, absolutely.
Now, what about music and dancing? Do you incorporate a lot of music and dancing in your magical practices?
I do incorporate music. I will play music when I'm doing certain rituals. I will play music if I myself personally, I do work with deities. I work with Oshun, I work with Yemeya. So I will play music to kind of honor them. I do feel like the ancestors and spirits do like it. Dancing, let's see. Not so much. I have before in some rituals. Sometimes I get so in a trance-like state, you just may find yourself dancing, but that's not really what I kind of add into my practice. But I do like music for meditation. I will play something that's coinciding with what I'm working with. So if I'm doing a love spell, I'll play love songs. If I'm doing a money spell, then I'm put on a YouTube affirmation or something like that. Or if I'm just honoring the spirit, sometimes I just, out of gratitude, I'm just honoring them and I play a little music just as a symbol of some fun and lighthearted energy.
Is there any kind of thing that you like just for general chilling and relaxing as far as socially, any particular genre that you consider your go-to?
Let's see, my go-to. Yeah, I actually listen to, I like singing bowls. I like listening to, and I never pronounce this right, but the binary beats.
Okay.
That does help me. It helps me sleep. I like to listen to a lot of shamanistic drumming. That's another thing that I'll do when I'm sleeping or just kind of laying and relaxing. It also helps calm me down and kind of get me into that trance-like state if I'm going to do a reading or I'm getting ready to light candles. So those would be my go-tos for sure.
Oh, okay. Now, I'm with you on the binary beats. I'm just starting to get into that. I did, some time ago, get into the Native American music. I got some music that really speaks to my soul from the Native American perspective because I have Blackfoot Indian in my bloodline. And also, Shira Star Goddess mentioned one day on one of her videos about listening to some planetary music associated with Jupiter because Jupiter, I think, is her... I can't recall what she said, but anyway, she gave me the idea of getting some planetary music, so I ordered a CD, and I'm still old school. I still use CDs sometimes. And it was all, the whole CD was planetary influence music. It dealt with all the planets, well, the main planets, the sun, the moon, the earth, and also Jupiter and Mars and Mercury. And it's great to go to sleep to planetary frequency music. Have you ever tried that?
I have not, but I will definitely look into that. Thank you.
Sure. Do you still use CDs? Do you ever play, or do you just go straight online with your music now?
No, mine is all online.
Okay. Now, let me see. Oh, sir, I heard also, I think I heard you mention in one of your videos about certain ideal hours to do magic. What can you say about that?
Yes. Well, certain hours of the day or night, there's a couple of things to that. Number one, planets are aligned in certain positions for the magic that you're trying to work at certain days or nights. I don't get that intricate into it, but if a person really wanted to calculate their spell down to the hour, you can do that. A lot of things are best done in the what's called the witching hour, which is between midnight and 5 a.m. And that's because normally wherever you live, the frequency, the city is shut down, people are sleeping, there's not as much chaos going on, there's not as much disruptive energy. You can really tap into, the moon energy, the universe, the dark matter. And in the daytime also, if you're one that does spells that require daytime, you may want to do a spell when the sun is rising for something. But yes, there are certain hours of power, 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and those hours of power can just increase the energy surrounding your work to help things manifest better.
The potency. And about a week or so ago, I found a website that dealt with the planetary hours, and I downloaded some software. It was free, and it lets you know, like for instance, today is Jupiter's day. If I were to pull it up on my computer right now, it would tell me, okay, this is Jupiter day, but at this particular time, you are in the hour of whatever the hour. It would show me. So the other day, I was getting ready to do something, and I got intuition that came to me and said, when you wash your hair tomorrow, wash your hair during the hour of Mars. And so I did that, and then I was writing some kind of composition I had to write there and say, when you write it on during the day of Mercury, during the Mercury hour. And it adds potency and amplifies your magic when you do it within the hour and not just the day.
Yes, you can get very technical and calculate it even down to the very minute, and that does help. It really does. Like I said, I personally don't do that primarily because my schedule doesn't allow it to.
Okay.
I don't know honestly if I've seen much of a difference in terms of results, but at the same time, I've never really kind of take time to document, but I do feel that it can have some effects. So
Like in my personal experience, it does make a difference and it has a greater impact. But I do understand people that have certain schedules, they cannot operate in that type of mode. And so, the universe compensates for whatever our lifestyles are, period.
Right, yes, absolutely.
Now, is there any type of magic that you just absolutely won't do for yourself or anybody else? I mean, is anything off limits to you magically or metaphysically?
People ask me for some wild things, and yeah, I've had people come to me asking for death spells or miscarriage spells or things like that, and that just doesn't sit well with me. I don't feel comfortable. I've turned down a lot of people, and I kind of sit and question, their morality and what could be that bad that you're wishing this on a person. I don't feel like that's my place. So no, I won't do certain things like that. Some people, again, just come from a really malicious heart, and which is why I always say, let's do a consultation, let's do a reading. Yes, it is to get an idea of the situation, but it's really for me to determine if I feel that you're coming from a place of sincerity and if I should work with you or not. And I can't even tell you the number of cases I've turned down and people haven't been very happy. But if I feel like you want to misuse me and my abilities to cause harm, that's unjust harm. Some people, do deserve baneful magic or retaliation or something like that, but if it's just unjust harm because you're just angry or something and you really, really just want to hurt somebody, I'm not going to do that, because I'm still being judged for every spell that I cast for a person, good or bad. And I have to protect myself. Sometimes people come to me and they want spells done against another practitioner. Well, do I really want to go into a witch war with someone? Not really. If you have a problem with another practitioner, then you got to handle that on your own. There's certain things that I just won't touch.
Okay, and that sounds very wise and sensible, reasonably. You need to protect yourself, and also we all are, like I said, unique in our endeavors, but we all have to know that we have our own unique moral compasses too. My moral compass is not yours, and vice versa. But everybody should have a moral compass of their own.
Right. Yeah. So.
Now, what about the ancestors? Do you work a lot with your ancestral bloodline? And I understand all ancestors don't have to be in the bloodline; they could be just ancestors from a general standpoint. But do you work with ancestors often?
I don't work with ancestors often. No, I can't say that I do. I used to have an ancestor altar set up dedicated to my father. I had my grandmother up there, but I didn't really feel that working with them was giving me better or worse results or whatnot. I will honor him. I will honor my father, my grandmother on their birthdays, on Halloween, things like that, but I don't necessarily ever call upon them for any aid or any help. I feel, my own magic within and the deities that I do go to, that's enough for me, so.
Okay, cool. Now, there have been some discussions about the usage of tarot cards in regard to using them on people when they have not requested a tarot reading, or unbeknownst to them, you're pulling tarot cards on them. And some people disagree with that practice, and some agree. What do you believe in regard to doing tarot card pullings unbeknownst to people and they haven't requested, but you want to know? I don't mean just to be nosy. I mean, you feel like you have a valid reason for pulling a card or pulling cards on someone. Do you ever practice pulling cards on folks unbeknownst to them?
It depends. Sometimes I do. Especially if someone comes to me with a very complex case that they want to have worked on, I will throw a couple of cards to see, for myself, is this something I should do? Is it going to be successful? Is there any hidden energy behind it that I need to know about? But other than that, do I just throw tarot cards on people? Not really necessarily. If I do, it's, I've done it for job interviews back in the day, or on a guy I was dating. But other than that, I don't really just throw tarot cards on people just because. I don't really have a reason to, especially if they didn't ask for it. It's a bit of a violation of their privacy, I think.
Now, what's your typical meditation practice? Your style of meditation? Do you do it daily, or does it vary?
I don't really do it daily. For me, like most people, it's not easy to just sit down and shut my brain off. That's virtually impossible. I will get quiet. Sometimes, if I'm looking for an answer for something or trying to calm my energy, I will just get quiet with a stone. But my form of meditation is I like to color. I have coloring books and color pencils, so I'll put on some music and I'll color, and within that, things will come to me. Um, when I go out in nature, that's sort of a form of meditation. When I'm writing, that's my form of meditation. But other than that, I don't, sit for 20 minutes quietly and just try to shut my brain off, because I just can't do that. I used to meditate a lot back when I was an early teenager. I would really get into it, but it just doesn't work for me anymore.
Well, okay. And sometimes when we start out doing certain practices, we can evolve out of them and so forth. So that makes sense. You do something and then you find that you don't have a need for it anymore. So that makes sense. That's part of evolution. I would agree. What about the encouragement? Because we know there are a lot of people who are in the quote-unquote witchy closet because of career paths, and because some folks, quite frankly, will get fired from their jobs if they knew they were practicing metaphysics, even though it wouldn't be a right thing to do. It does, in fact, happen to some people. So, of course, they find it fitting to be in closets. What's your encouragement for folks that are in the metaphysical closet, the practitioners?
Well, that's a personal decision. If coming out of the closet is going to jeopardize your finances, your household, your well-being, your safety, your relationships that you truly value, then don't do it. You don't have to. It's nobody's business.
Right.
This is your own spiritual path. This is your own practice. You don't need anyone's approval or validation. But on the flip side of that, if none of those things are going to be affected, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with coming out. Be who you are. Own it. Claim it.
Yeah, be your authentic self. That's so very
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
And what about the people that we had this one guy in one of the Facebook groups. He was still living with his parents. Maybe he was in college or whatever, or maybe he was working, didn't have enough to live, independently. But he came home one day and his father had removed all of his metaphysical tools from his room, just wiped everything out that he had collected. And I wanted to encourage him. So one thing I tell him and other people who cannot openly practice because of households and jobs, they'll find things to use that are not obviously metaphysical in their appearance. Like, you don't want to have a big old pentagram on your wall on a poster or whatever, but you can use things like acorns and pine cones and spices from the kitchen that look innocent. You can use oils and, disguise them as cologne. You can, there are various ways that you can practice, like say, get house plants and put crystals in the dirt in the pots. So do you have any ideas for people that want to be like undercover, so to speak, and living in households where it's not blatantly obvious that they're in that realm?
Absolutely. And I call it inconspicuous magic. There's so many ways to practice without anyone needing to burn a candle, or like you said, having a big pentagram on the wall or anything. You can do a ritual bath, a salt bath. That's innocent. No one thinks anything. You can keep salt in your cabinet. You can work with oils, just put them in a different type of container. You can do Florida water, put it in a spray bottle. It doesn't, people don't really know what that is. There's powders that can be used for certain things. There are washes. It's just being creative and kind of knowing how to mask and disguise your tools that you're working with. But again, magic really comes from within. It's the intentions. The tools are to help you focus your energy. You don't really need them, but they do help. So I would say, you don't have to have all the altars set up at the maze and the candles and all that. You can really, you can have a journal of things that you maybe write and keep someplace else, or not. But there's so many ways to sort of mask what you're doing without anyone knowing. Herbs, like you said, are a great way. No one's going to question spices in the kitchen cabinet if they're just there and you're mixing them up and doing your ritual baths and things like that. So you just got to kind of be creative.
Yes, I agree. And Shira had indicated on one of her videos that when she was a young person living in her mom's home, her altar was in a shoebox. She would, put her tools in a shoebox and then put them in there in the closet with the rest of the shoeboxes, and that they were none the wiser. So that was a good idea. And some people have these. I have a mobile altar that I use when I go to the park sometimes, and and commune with nature. I have like a little box I got from Michael's Craft Store, and I put incense in there, incense cones, and I have like a small candle in there, some crystals or whatever. So it's like you can just carry it around with you like a mobile unit, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I like those little travel altars. I keep one with me when I go out of town. Sometimes I don't always need them, but sometimes I will. So that's always a good option. Or if you have a car, you can kind of keep your things in your car.
Right.
Granted, nobody's going in there, but you can keep your things in your car. There's many ways. So yeah, a lot of altar things, especially stuff that I've had in the past, came from nature, came from the park. You know, my first wand was a tree branch. Someone may not question a branch or a rock or something that you picked up. They just may not think that it's anything suspicious, so to speak. So yeah.
Exactly. And like I said, just be creative, because I have went out and got stones from the neighborhood, off the ground, sand from off the ground, and used sand to put my crystals in, acorns, and I even bring in here. I had some pine cones that I found outside, and I brought them in here, put them in the tub with me. So I had a pine cone bath, and I cut a half an onion and put an onion in the bathtub with me, and cinnamon sticks in the bathtub with me, and a small tree limb. I put that in the bathtub with me.
Absolutely.
Because they all have energies and properties and potency, so I have a good time in my tub with those things.
Absolutely. Well, you know, that's the other thing too. People, I know, especially with beginners, they feel, oh, I need these tools and I need things to be set up. But in actuality, you don't. An altar can be anything. You can put some flowers in a vase and there's your altar. You've got earth element, you've got water element. It doesn't have to look witchy or anything like that. And you can work, if that's all you had, you can work with that. If all you had was a potted plant, there's your altar right there.
Exactly. And then, like I said, magic is mainly mental. And to me, I look at the tools as accessories. It's like you get dressed and you put an outfit on. You don't need the accessories, but they do accent your outfit. But you can go out without them and do just fine. But, it's like an accent or enhancement, but you don't necessarily need it. You're right.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, the last couple things, the last thing I think I wanted to, I think it's the last thing. What are your thoughts on symbolism and sacred geometry? Because the sacred geometry is all over. Just about everywhere we go, we are faced with the sacred geometry, the symbols, and the architecture, and damn near everything we encounter has sacred geometry in the mix.
Yes, that is true. I do believe, number one, it is something that a person should study and get to know. It can help you with your magic because symbols and shapes carry energy and they carry vibrations. I think sacred geometry is a little bit advanced for beginners, so it's not something I would say to start off with, but it is something that you should, at some point during your practice, start learning and seeing if it can be incorporated into your magic and if you can work with it. It's not necessarily for everyone, but for some people, you can intensify and increase your manifestation powers if you learn how to use these symbols properly.
Right, I totally agree with you on that. And the more that we discover and utilize, the more potent and powerful and evolutionary we become. Because the journey we never have arrived, because it's always about living and learning. And I say often that we all are students and we all are teachers. So to stagnate is not in our best interest, and to move too fast or too slow is not in our best interest. So the key is to discover what our balance is and to try to continue in that particular vein.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah, and the very last thing I wanted to mention is, have you noticed, as you probably have, over the last maybe just weeks, I've noticed it, the increase on Facebook of these metaphysical groups, and I'm very glad to see all these groups. In some aspects, I'm glad, and the numbers are increasing. And I look at your group and another group in particular that has thousands. So I'm glad that more people are forsaking the limitations of religion, Christianity and Islam or whatever else they were involved in, Jehovah's Witnesses. So have you noticed the increase in the metaphysical groups, though? And sometimes I feel overwhelmed because people put me in these groups, and sometimes I remove myself because it's just overwhelming. It's too much. I mean, we all have 24 hours in a day, and a lot of that's spent sleeping. So how do you feel? Have you noticed that?
Yes, I have noticed that. And that has a lot to do with, we are going through a shift, and people are, they're awakening, and the earth is shifting, the energy around us is shifting, and people are searching for knowledge and places to find this knowledge, and places where they can be comfortable and be themselves and exchange information and dialogue. So it's happening at a rapid rate, and very soon that's going to be all you see. People are leaving religion more and more and coming into spirituality, which is why you're seeing this increase so often.
Okay, well, I am so glad that you agreed to do this with me. We don't want to. I didn't want this to be called an interview per se, because I was going to have some comments of my own to make. And normally, when folks do interviews, they pretty much just ask the questions, and I wanted to have some involvement. That's why I didn't want to tack it down to just an interview genre, so to speak. So anyway, I'm very grateful that you took the time out. I know you're busy and have a lot on your plate and so forth. So thank you so much, Jasmine.
Thank you. This was amazing. I'm really glad that we got to speak today. And hopefully this information, helps whoever gets to see this.
Yeah, that's what I wanted, to help others, because it's about sharing and caring. So do you think you'll load it anytime soon, in days or?
Oh yeah.
I want to look forward to it so I can look at us and see what we look like.
Yes, absolutely.
The overall process.
Absolutely. I'm gonna try to get it up tonight. That's really my plan, to get it up tonight. If not, I will get it up tomorrow for sure. But yeah, I want to share this. I want both of us to go back and look at it. But more or less, I really want to get this information out. So it will be up in the next 24 hours.
Great. And thank you again, and have a good evening and night, okay?
Thank you. You too. It was such a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you.
Sure. Bye now.
Bye-bye. All right. She's awesome. She's so cool. That was great. There's some really, really wonderful questions. So I hope you all enjoyed that video. I hope this knowledge and things that we discussed shed some light or answered some questions, or kind of gave you a little guidance of how to increase your spiritual practice. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm hungry, so I'm gonna grab a bite to eat. I will talk to you all soon, and I will be coming back with some videos for you very soon, so make sure you subscribe to my channel and look out for those. Talk to y'all later.